Hi guys, it is Miss Holly here for Ramadan story time. And we are going to start with our hello song. If you don't know this one, maybe just play it a few times and then you'll know it after you watch me do it. So let's get started. Up, down, turn around, touch the sky and touch the ground. Wiggle fingers, wiggle toes, wiggle shoulders, say hello. Hello, welcome to my story time. Let's get started. This book is called The Gift of Ramadan, and it was written by Rabia York Lombard, and it was illustrated by Laura K. Horton. So a rainbow of color winked at Sophia as she handed the Ramadan lights to her mama. These were her favorite decorations because they made her feel as though a special guest was coming. Grandma raised an eyebrow. Pretty, she said, pretty and sparkly, just like the heart of a person who fasts. Sophia stopped twirling. Really? She asked. Sophia loved sparkles, glitter, stars, her new ring. It was a gift from Grandma for her birthday last month. Grandma stopped rocking. Really? Sophia knew that fasting was to not eat or drink, from sun up to sundown. Sophia loved food, but she also loved sparkles. She turned to her mama. When does Ramadan begin? Mama opened the curtain. Adam, Sophia's little brother, pointed to the sky. Moon. That's right, Mama answered. See how thin it is? Sophia nodded. That's the crescent moon, the beginning of a new month. Tomorrow is the first day of fasting. Count me in, Sophia grinned. Mama woke Sophia when it was so early, not even the sun was awake. Time for sahur, she sang. Sophia sat down to a breakfast of eggs, fruit, and Dad's pancakes, but Sophia could barely keep her eyes open. You have to eat, Grandma said. It will chase away the hungries. Sophia reached for a pancake, but a few minutes later... Time's up, Dad said. They got up from the table and unrolled the prayer rugs one by one. Sophia tried her best to stay awake, but the moment her head touched the ground, sleep came over her. Mama reached forward to nudge her, but Grandma waved her finger to say, let her sleep. When Sophia woke for the second time, it was almost noon. Her tummy was empty and her throat was dry, but even drinking water was against the rules. So Sophia decided to stay busy. She read for a while, she organized her clothes in her closet from least to most sparkly. And then she drew, but her tummy began to gurgle louder and louder. Shh, Sophia said, I'm drawing. She glanced down at her paper. Yikes, she said, I've got to get out of here. She's just drawing pictures of food. Sophia found Adam in front of the TV. In his hand was a humongous cookie. He waved it in front of her face and sang, me cookie eat, yummy, yum, yum. Sophia's tummy roared. The cookie looked delicious. Please stop, she said, but Adam kept singing. Sophia clenched her hands. She bit her lip. She wanted to yell. Instead, she ran out of the room. Her brother chased her. Adam was fast, but Sophia was faster. Sophia was so fast, she ran out of breath. She needed to hide. Adam was still looking for her. Sophia turned on the light. Oh no, she thought, I really gotta get out of here. But she couldn't. Adam was stomping by, still singing that song. Me cookie eat, yummy, yum, yum. She plugged her ears. She closed her eyes. Sophia took a deep breath, and the scent of chocolate filled her nose. She's hiding in the pantry. What is this? Asked Grandma. Sophia's eyes drifted to the floor. I got too hungry. There, my love. No one expects you to fast for an entire day. Grandma wrapped Sophia in a big hug. There's always tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after. You have a full month to keep trying. Sophia twisted her ring. She wiped away her tears. But I want to feel sparkly now, she said. You are sparkly, Grandma said. I can see your sparkles growing. Sophia shrugged. She didn't feel very sparkly. And did you know, continued Grandma, there are other ways to celebrate Ramadan? Sophia thought about that. She knew Mama could read the Quran. Maybe it gave her head sparkles, but Sophia couldn't read it yet, not on her own. And her dad was always sharing things with family, friends, and strangers. He said that Ramadan was a time for charity, a special kind of sharing for those who need extra help. But Sophia didn't have any money. Sophia was about to give up when she glanced down at Grandma's hands. They were covered in flour. What are you making? She asked. Yummy food for our first iftar, Grandma replied. That's it, Sophia thought. If she couldn't fast, then at least she could help prepare dinner for those who did. And I'm going to help. Sophia put on her apron and got to work. She tossed the salad. Then she helped Grandma make 5 super sparkly pizzas, one for each member of the family. Sophia thought they were sparkly because they had extra cheese on them. Grandma thought it was the fresh parsley that made them shine. When the oven buzzed, Sophia jumped from her chair. The pizzas were finally done, but when Grandma opened the oven, smoke billowed out. Oh no, Sophia frowned. The top 3 pizzas were perfect, but the bottom 2 were burnt to a crisp. Grandma plopped down. She looked exhausted. Iftar was just around the corner. Don't worry, Grandma, said Sophia. I've got this. Really? Said Grandma. Really, said Sophia. Sophia set the table. She gave each person 1 big bowl of soup and 1 salad. She placed a pitcher of water and a bowl of dates on the table. Then she asked Grandma to cut up the 3 perfect pizzas. Tiny slices were better than none. Sophia's family gathered around the table. They raised their hands and offered thanks. Then they each drank water and ate a date. When there was only 1 slice of pizza left, Grandma insisted that Sophia take it. You've earned it. No thanks, Sophia smiled. She didn't want any more. She didn't need any more. Her heart was wonderfully full. And that is the end of the gift of Ramadan. Okay, so we know that Ramadan has a lot to do with the moon. So I thought we would read a poem just about the moon. It is called The Moon Game. It goes like this. I'm the moon, and I play a game. I don't always look the same. Sometimes I'm round, a silver sphere, but sometimes just half of me seems to be here. Sometimes I'm a crescent shaped like a smile. Smile. But sometimes I surprise you. I hide for a while. Look up in the sky for my friendly light. What shape will I have when you see me tonight? What shape is it tonight? Do you guys know? This book is called Crescent Moons and Pointed Minarets, and it is by Hena Khan, and it was illustrated by Merdokt Amani. Cone is the tip of the minaret, so tall, I hear soft echoes of the prayer call. Rectangle is the mosque's carved wooden door, filled with a pattern that reaches the floor. Octagon is a fountain, its water so blue, I wash before prayers and make my voodoo. Triangle is the mimbar's thin set of stairs. We hear a short sermon before Friday prayers. Arch is the mihrab that guides our way. We stand and face it each time we pray. Cube is the Kaaba, a most sacred site where Muslims worship each day and night. Square is a garden with sweet orange trees, a hint of jana on its fragrant breeze. Circle is a daff, a drum large and round. We fill the air with its festive sound. Hexagon is a tile, bold and bright, painted with an ayah I love to recite. Oval is the table where we break our fast. When the sun sets, it's iftar time at last. Diamond is the design on my new Eid clothes, a kaftan so long that it reaches my toes. Crescent is the moon, brilliant in the sky. It whispers salam as the day passes by. So much beauty in the shapes that I see adds to my faith and the world around me. And that is the end of crescent moons and pointed minarets. So another thing that we know that Ramadan is all about is charity and helping out people in need, people that are less fortunate than you. So we are going to do a flannel board story about just that. And it is called Elephant in a Well, and it was by Marie Hall Etz. So first of all, once when young Elephant was wandering around with a clothesline wound around her trunk. So there's Elephant. She's got a clothesline around her trunk. Well, young Elephant, she fell into a well right here and she couldn't get out. See? She's trying to get out so hard, but she just can't get out. So, Horse came along over here. He wanted to help. Horse pulled on the rope with all of his might, but Horse alone couldn't pull young Elephant out of the well. Oh no. But then Cow came along too. Cow wanted to help, just like Horse. So Horse and Cow both pulled and pulled, but Horse and Cow together couldn't pull young Elephant out of the well. Then Goat came, and Goat wanted to help too. So Horse and Cow and Goat all pulled, but Horse and Cow and Goat together couldn't pull young Elephant out of the well. And then, who else do you think came? Pig. Pig came along too to help. So Horse and Cow and Goat and Pig, they all pulled. But Horse and Cow and Goat and Pig couldn't pull a young Elephant out of the well. Who's going to come next? Lamb came next. Here's Lamb right here. So Horse and Cow and Goat and Pig and Lamb all pulled. But Horse and Cow and Goat and Pig and Lamb together could not pull young Elephant out of the well. And then we have a doggy. Dog wanted to help too. We'll put him up there. So Horse and Cow and Goat and Pig and Lamb and Dog all pulled. But Horse and Cow and Goat and Pig and Lamb and Dog together couldn't pull that young Elephant out of the well. And we got one last friend to come help. Who do you think it is? Probably a big and strong animal, right? To pull that elephant out of the well. See, tiny little mouse. He's gonna come help too. So Horse and Cow and Goat and Pig and Lamb and Dog, what did they do? They all laughed at him. But Horse and Cow and Goat and Pig and Lamb and Dog and Mouse, they ended up pulling young Elephant out of the well all together, all of their help. So let's see, does she get out? Oh, yes. She is coming out of that well right here. Look at that hand. Do you know what happened next? She never fell in again. So that is the story of Elephant in a Well. This book is called My Grandma and Me, and it is by Mina Yara Harbin, and it was illustrated by Lindsay Yankee. When I was growing up in Iran, my grandma lived with us. I followed her everywhere. When she swept, I swept. When she cooked, I cooked. When she prayed, I prayed like her too. At dawn, when she woke up for namaz, I woke up with her too. Praying at dawn is my favorite, she would say with a smile. Mine too, I would say with an even wider smile. Because only the two of us were up at that time, and no one else was there to stop me, I would climb up and lie on her back while she prayed. My grandma never told me to stop or broke out of her prayers. Instead, she sat up gently each time, making sure that I did not fall. After her namaz, we kept watch for the bread delivery boy. He piled the bread high on his bike like a clever acrobatic act. But my grandma and I had a clever act too. We bought fresh bread every day without leaving our third-floor apartment. Look at that basket technology. We sent our baskets down with the ropes. The bread boy placed the bread inside, and then we hauled them up. My grandma's basket was so big that I could fit inside it. I would sit in that basket and pretend to be flying my very own plane. My doll played too. Once the bread arrived, my doll, my grandma, and I would take some to my friend Annette, right next door. Like Annette and me, our grandmas were best friends. They enjoyed each other's company. Every day while we played together, they talked, laughed, and drank coffee. Our grandmas knitted blankets together as they watched us play hopscotch in the alley. They donated them to my grandma's mosque and Annette's grandma's church. From the end of the alley, we could see their heads bent over the blankets. Annette's grandma with her silver hair, and my grandma with her favorite chador, the white one with small purple flowers. My grandma had all kinds of chadors. She wore them for different occasions. For parties and mosque, she wore a black one made of fancy crepe fabric. It was heavy, soft, and cool to the touch. It looked like a magical cape. My grandma sewed all her own chadors, and I helped. Mostly, I helped by draping her chadors on the table to build my rocket ship. Or trying her chador around my neck so I could fly from the moon to the planets. I was a super astro explorer. My grandma was always waiting for me back at the base camp with cookies. We ate together and I told her about my space adventures. During the holy month of Ramadan, my grandma did not eat from dawn till dusk. When she woke up to eat before sunrise, I woke up to eat too. You're too young to fast just yet, she said to me. I ate with my grandma anyways. Then I ate as usual during the day, and after dusk at iftar time, I ate with her again. One time, when I was a little older and finally fasted with her, in the middle of the dark and somber night, I wore the chador she made me, and we walked together to the mosque. Inside, the lights shone bright and no one was quiet or somber. People laughed and ate and talked until it was time for prayers. My grandma prayed for Annette's grandma. She prayed that Annette's grandma would go to heaven. After the prayers, there was tea and milk and dates and sherbet and cookies. In the mosque's kitchen, volunteers cooked rice and stew in giant copper pots. Some ate at the mosque, while others took the food home. We filled a dish, and on the way home, my grandma left it for a man sleeping in the sidewalk. As we walked away, she said a prayer for the sick and poor of the world. next morning when I saw Annette, she whispered a secret to me. Last night at the church, my grandma prayed for your grandma to go to heaven. My eyes widened. My grandma did the same thing at the mosque. Annette and I looked up. Our grandmas were talking and drinking coffee together. I could imagine them knitting and laughing together anywhere, on Earth, on Mars, or in heaven. In this big universe full of many moons, I have traveled and seen many wonders, but I've never loved anything or anyone the way that I loved my grandma. She was kind, generous, and full of love, and I still want to be just like her. And that is the story of my grandma and me. All right, so now it is time for a Ramadan song, if you know one, and I happen to know one. It goes to the tune of The Wheels on the Bus. So this song is called When It's Ramadan, and it is by Elizabeth Limar, and it comes from the book Ramadan Rhymes. So to the tune of Wheels on the Bus. When it's Ramadan, we fast and fast, fast and fast, fast and fast. When it's Ramadan, we fast and fast all day long. When it's Ramadan, we eat suhoor, eat suhoor, eat suhoor. When it's Ramadan, we eat suhoor just before dawn. When it's Ramadan, we eat iftar, eat iftar, eat iftar. When it's Ramadan, we eat iftar when the sun goes down. So that's my Ramadan song. All right, so this next book is called Samira's Eid. It is by Nazreen Akhtar and Enabor Attard. It was during Ramadan, when everyone was fasting, that the children were busy making cards. This one's for Nani in the hospital, said Samira, closing the envelope. Will she get better? Asked Hassan. Yes, but Eid won't be the same without her. Just then, Mum walked in. Remember you're fasting tomorrow, she said. Will it hurt? Asked Hassan. No, but you will feel tired. So go to sleep quickly now, answered Mom. The next morning before sunrise, Samira and Hassan had their breakfast. Eat up, it's a long time till dinner, Mom reminded them. By lunchtime, Hassan couldn't help himself. Complaining, he said, I'm so hungry, I want a samosa. I'm hungry too, but think of all the people who are fasting just like us, said Samira. And think of all the people who can only have one meal a day, said Mom, putting her arm around Hassan. I wouldn't like that, said Hassan. Well, they don't like it either, said Samira. That's why we give zakat. At last, it was time for dinner, and Mom had prepared their favorite food. Dad, we did it. We fasted just like you, said Samira. I knew you could do it, Dad said, smiling. How do you feel? Hungry, they groaned. The night before Eid, the radio announced the sightings of the new moon. Quickly, Samira ran to Hassan's room to tell him the news. The new moon has just been seen, she said. Where? Asked Hassan, dashing to the window. In Mecca, of course, not here. Very early, while everyone was still asleep, Samira and Hassan gazed at the new moon, so thin and pale in the morning sky. Look, Hassan, there it is, whispered Samira. Eid Mubarak, Samira, said Hassan. Back in her room, Samira saw her new clothes lying on the bed. Gently, she lifted the shalwar kameez that her mum had made and held up. It really is Eid, she thought. When everyone was ready, the family left for the mosque. Eid Mubarak, they called out to their friends along the way. Inside the mosque, they prayed and listened to the imam. Outside, there were lots of people smiling and hugging each other. Suddenly, Samira saw her teacher. Look, Hassan, it's Miss Kadir coming over here. Eid Mubarak, Samira and Hassan, said Miss Kadir, placing a small present in their hands. Thank you, they said, but how did you know that we'd be here? Teachers know these things, replied Miss Kadir, smiling. When they arrived home, they found a pile of Eid cards waiting to be opened. Here's one from Auntie Yasmin, and this one's from Uncle Iqbal, said Samira. But where is Nani's card? Maybe it will come in the second post. Now hurry up and help me get these dishes onto the table, said Mom. Look at all that food, gasped Samira. What a feast. The doorbell rang again and again and again as aunts and uncles and friends and neighbors arrived. They were hugging and kissing, laughter and presents. Samira and Hassan could barely believe their eyes. Come and sit down, everyone. The food is ready, announced Dad. Samira, come and sit here, said Dad. This chair's empty, said Samira, pointing to the chair next to her. Not for long, said a familiar voice. Who could it be? Eid Mubarak, everyone, said Nani, smiling. Samira, I just couldn't trust that the hospital would get the card to you on time. So what could I do but bring it myself? Samira laughed. But how did you get here? That's a long story. But first, a little something for you and Hassan, said Nani. When Samira and Hassan opened their present, they found a book inside. This was no ordinary book, and the smiles on their faces made everyone laugh. Do you recognize this book? So by the end of the day, a happy Samira had curled up on the sofa next to Nani. Nani, tell us your story now, said Hassan. Well, it was during Ramadan when everyone was fasting and the children were. And that is the end of Samira's Eid. All right, so that is it for my Ramadan story time this week. I hope you guys either learned a lot about a new holiday that you don't celebrate, or if you are a Ramadan professional, Ramadan Mubarak. Have a happy Ramadan, and I will see you in our next story time. Bye.